Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be my everyday makeup drawer for spring. I'm going to film this video a little bit differently. It's just going to be slightly more casual than I normally do it. I think next time I might actually film myself going through my collection, choosing the products. I was going to do that this time, but I just decluttered my entire collection. So my makeup is everywhere in my room right now. So instead I thought I would just sit down and chat with you guys and show you the products that I'll be focusing on over the next few months. I like to switch up my makeup every season and rotate my products so I'm getting use out of my entire collection. And it also helps me keep my collection in check because if I put products in my drawer and I don't like them or I don't touch them at the end of like the 2 months, then I end up decluttering them. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's such a weird, crazy time right now, and I know a lot of people are not looking to add new products to their collection. There's so much uncertainty with job security and finances, and priorities have definitely shifted quite a bit. So if you're somebody who's not looking to buy new makeup, I want to encourage you guys to shop your stash to try an everyday makeup drawer. It's such an easy way to kind of change things up. Even if you don't have a super large makeup collection, I'm sure there are products in your collection that you haven't used for a while, maybe not even since last spring. So break them back out, try them out again, rotate the products that you do have, and just kind of make it something fun because it is a fun way to, switch things up without spending money. So I definitely want to bring you guys some more ideas as to how you can kind of take advantage of your current collection without buying new makeup. So let me know if that's something you would want to see. And let's jump into it and I'll show you the products that I'm planning on using during March and April. So I did film a video on my favorite palettes for spring. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it below. But I do have a couple of those in my everyday makeup drawer. So the first one is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette. This is definitely one of my favorite palettes for spring. I love the purples, the pinks, the neutrals. It just helps you create a very soft eyeshadow look overall. You can go a little bit deeper with some of the shades on the right, but overall I just feel like I get a wash of color, which I do love. I also decided to include the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. This is an older favorite as well, but for some reason it just screams spring to me. I feel like a lot of people love using this one during the fall season, but I love the lighter toned neutrals. They're just great for like a quick and easy look. This is one of my favorite shadows of all time. I always blend this into the crease and then put this one all over the lid, and it's like the quickest eyeshadow look, but it looks really beautiful. I do have the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. So this is getting a little bit older. I think this is going to be the last spring and summer season I can really enjoy this one. So I did want to put it in my everyday makeup drawer. This one is the ColourPop Sailor Moon Pretty Guardian palette. This is such a pretty option for spring, and I love that it has some lighter neutrals. I especially reach for like the top 2 rows, but if I do want to incorporate a pop of color, you do get a lot of really gorgeous colors on the bottom as well. And I've just been enjoying this one. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. For some reason, I just didn't expect it to be a favorite, but I do think it's a lot of fun for spring. I did purchase the Natasha Denona Love palette as my palette for the month of February, and I know that pinks and purples were so trendy during February, but I love pink and purple all year round, and I just think this will be a lot of fun heading into spring as well, especially the lighter tones. This is one of my favorite eyeshadows. It looks so pretty all over the lid, but I also like just taking like all of the lighter pink shades to create a quick and easy look. So I did get this Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice eyeshadow palette in my BoxyCharm for February. They did like a Fenty collaboration where they included a bunch of Fenty products. I don't think that I've necessarily heard a lot of bad things about this palette. I feel like people are just very indifferent about the eyeshadows, and I know that this has been discounted, so I feel like it's probably on its way out. But after swatching them in my BoxyCharm video, I was definitely curious to actually try them on the eyes. So I do want to test this one out and, see how it performs. Okay, and then over here, I just have 6 different ColourPop shadows. ColourPop does make my favorite formula, so I have a couple of fun options for the spring and then a couple of neutral palettes as well. So I do have my Going Coconuts palette, which is one of my favorites for everyday wear. I use this palette all the time. If I want like a quick and easy neutral look, this is one of my go-tos. And then I am going to be focusing on 3 colorful palettes that are a little bit more pastel, spring related. So the first one is the Baby Got Peach palette. I'm so excited about this one. I've used it a couple of times, but I got this one and then I think they sent it to me in the mail as PR, and it must have gotten buried in my eyeshadow palette collection because my collection got out of hand. I did declutter it if you guys want to check that out, but the colors in here are so gorgeous. They just scream spring and summer to me, and every time I use this, I'm so blown away by the fact that the shadows are so smooth and easy to work with. I also put the Mint to Be palette in my drawer. I hope this is showing up well. I'm looking at the monitor and everything kind of has like a little bit of a blue hint. It almost looks washed out. So hopefully it looks okay on your end. But I think that this palette is a lot of fun. Mint is not a color that I would typically reach for a whole lot, but ever since I got this palette, I've been incorporating it into random makeup looks, and I just think it's really fun. It's really just different for me, and I like to step outside my comfort zone every once in a while. So I have been enjoying this one. And then I have the Lilac You a Lot palette. I am so excited to use this one. I told you guys that this was on my wish list. I actually posted about this on Instagram because I was going to pick it up because they were having a sale on their 9-pan palettes, and ColourPop saw my Instagram post and they actually sent it to me, which was really kind of them. I'm actually going to count it as my March palette because I was going to buy it myself, but I just think the colors are so beautiful. I love purple tones, and the It's My Pleasure palette is one of my favorites, so I just think this will be a lot of fun to use alongside of that palette, but also on its own, and I can't wait. I just think that it is so stunning. And I have 2 more ColourPop palettes. The packaging on these palettes is just so beautiful. I've been talking about the Blush Crush palette quite a bit. It's definitely one of my favorite ColourPop releases. I just love that it's a very beautiful pink-toned palette. It also has a good mix of neutrals, some purple tones, and then they also sent me the Making Mauves palette or collection in the mail as PR a little while ago, and I used this once, and the quality was so good. It was so easy to work with. I think pinks and purples can be a little bit tricky, but this is a little bit more of a subdued version of a pink or purple palette, so I just think it looks very pretty on the eyes. You can do a lot with these 9-pan palettes. The 9-pan palettes are my favorite because you don't get too many shadows to the point where it's overwhelming and you aren't sure what type of look to do, but you typically get enough variation within the palette that you can create quite a few looks. So I'm going to use this one so much during the next few months as well. All right, let's move on to face products. So I have my primers, my foundations, powders, and then concealers. Let's just start with primers. We'll go in the order of how you apply these. So I do have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid Primer. When I did my declutter, I told you guys that I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this. I've tried it a few times, and so far I do enjoy it, but I haven't made up my mind as to whether or not I think it is a staple in my collection. So because of that, I want to put it in my everyday makeup drawer and really put it to the test over the next few months so I can decide if I want to keep it or declutter it. I do have quite a few Catrice primers back here. So again, when I did my declutter, I realized that I haven't really tested out 2 of these. So 2 of them are my favorites. I love the Catrice Fresh It Up Aqua Fresh Hydro Primer. This one is such a great option if you're looking for a moisturizing primer. I think that it's pretty much a dupe for the Smashbox Primerizer, but it is of course a lot less expensive. I also really like the Catrice Prime & Fine Pore Refining Anti-Shine Base. This one does keep your skin matte, but more than that, it leaves your skin looking incredibly smooth and poreless and flawless, so I do enjoy this one as well. So I am actually working on finishing these up. They are in my project pan, but I haven't really tested. I mean, I've used these like once or twice, but again, I haven't put them to the test to know whether or not they are staples for me. The first one is the Anti-Red Base. This one is supposed to be a color correcting primer if you have red skin. This one is green, so it's supposed to kind of neutralize that redness, and I do have pretty red skin. My face gets very, very red, so I do think this could actually be beneficial. I used to only wear full coverage foundations, so I didn't feel the need for any color correcting products, but I do tend to reach for lighter coverage products probably like half of the week these days. I kind of switch back and forth between full coverage and light coverage, but on days where I do wear a light coverage tinted moisturizer, I do think that this could come in handy if I used it underneath because it would cover a lot of that redness. I don't know what the exact difference between these 2 would be. I mean, one is supposed to keep your skin matte, and the other one is marketed as like a poreless primer. I do think the Keep Me Matte primer does keep my skin looking pretty poreless and pretty flawless, so we'll see how they compare. I don't know if it's going to be an addition to my collection that I need because I do love this one, but we'll see. These are from Farsali. So I've been talking about the Liquid Powder Oil Balancing Serum quite a bit. This one leaves your skin incredibly matte. And at first when I tried it, I didn't like it, or I just wasn't sure because I've never experienced anything quite this mattifying. But now that it's getting a little bit warmer, my skin is a little bit more oily, I've definitely come to appreciate it, and it keeps my skin super matte, which is amazing. I also have the Liquid Glass Serum. I did get this one in a BoxyCharm. I think that this one might be better if you have dry skin or you just prefer more of a glowy look. I do like a really moisturized, healthy appearance, so I do want to put this one to the test and see if I think it's worth the money. It might be, depending on what you're looking for, but I'm not convinced yet. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more time to test it out. All right, let's talk about some base products. So I'll start with my light coverage products. I have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Tinted Moisturizer. I wear the shade Light 7W. I love this product so much. I rave about it all the time, but it's such a great option if you like light coverage. But the reason why I like this one over other tinted moisturizers is that it seems to stay in place well on my oily skin. I always do make sure to set mine in place with powder, otherwise it probably wouldn't stay on my skin as well. But once I set it with powder, I'm good to go all day long, and it just wears off very evenly. It looks great all day long. So I do love this product on its own. I also like mixing it in with a full coverage foundation just to kind of bring the coverage of like the Fenty foundation down a little bit. I also have the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I wear the shade 530 Fair Light. So these two are pretty similar on the skin. I think that I like the the ColourPop one a little bit better. I just think that it looks a little bit better on my skin. It's slightly easier to work with. I think they both have coconut water in them. Actually, this one has coconut milk in it, and this one has coconut water. So I know some people can be sensitive to any sort of coconut. It definitely depends on what you're looking for in your products. But again, this is a very light coverage product. And then I have 3 other foundations. So I have the Fenty Pro Filter Matte Foundation. I wear the shade 140. This is my go-to full coverage foundation. I love this one on days where I need my foundation to last all day long. I need it to look super matte and even out my skin tone. I also have the Bite Beauty Changemaker Supercharged Micellar Foundation. I have the shade L30, which is slightly too dark for me. I mean, Fenty's 140 is a pretty good match, so you can see the difference. But if I blend this one down onto my neck, onto my chest, I feel like you can't really notice. And I was going to repurchase it in my go-to shade, but when I went to do that, Sephora was actually out of stock. So I feel okay with using this one. I usually end up mixing some sort of combination between all of these or 1 or 2 of them. So I do like wearing this one on its own as well. I would say that it's more of a medium to full coverage foundation. And then the last foundation that I have is this one from Smashbox. I'm working my way through this one. It is the Studio Skin Hydrating Foundation, and I have the shade 1.05. I don't wear this one on its own too often, but I do like mixing this with my Fenty foundation just to create more of a balanced formula if I don't want an intense matte look. So that's what I typically do with this one. So I do have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. I have 2 shades. I have Fair 15W and Light 15W. I do mix them together to get my perfect shade, but this is a very hydrating concealer. It looks great on the skin. I would say that it settles into fine lines worse than some of my other concealers, but I think the trade-off is that it looks a little bit more healthy because it's not so mattifying. I have 2 concealers from e.l.f. So I have the e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. My pug did get a hold of this one, which is why it looks so rough. This one is in the shade Light Sand. And then I also have the Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Light Beige. So I do like the 16-Hour Camo Concealer. That one is a full coverage matte concealer. It will stay in place all day long. Light Sand is a little bit too light for me, but typically I mix in a little bit of this one. I don't like the Hydrating Camo Concealer on its own. I think the formula is kind of similar to the ColourPop Pretty Fresh, but I just feel like it enhances fine lines and pores, and it doesn't look as great on my skin, and it doesn't hold up as well as the original Camo Concealer. So out of the 2, I do prefer the original, but mixed together, they actually balance each other out really well. So I do enjoy using them together, especially because the 2 shades are a little bit off for me. So I feel like combined, they're perfect. The last thing is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. I have the shade Light 18. I actually use this as foundation. I don't typically wear this as a concealer, but it looks amazing as foundation if I'm doing like a quick makeup look. It just blends out so easily. It covers everything really well, and it stays in place all day long. So it is one of my favorite products for that reason. So moving on to powders, I do have a couple. These are in my project pan. I'm currently on a powder no-buy and a primer no-buy because I do have more than enough powders and primers in my collection to make it through the rest of the year. So the first powder that I'm working on using up is this e.l.f. Translucent Powder. I'm almost finished with it. I feel like this one and the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Pressed are very, very similar. I do the same thing with this one. I kind of just use them interchangeably, go back and forth between them. But again, I use a large fluffy brush after I do my foundation, and it just makes everything look very smooth. So I haven't really been focusing on this one a lot. It's from Fenty. It is their Pro Filter Mini Instant Retouch Setting Powder in the shade Butter. It is a loose powder. I've been focusing on other ones, so I do want to make more of an effort to use this one, especially once once I finish this one. This one is the Too Faced Peach Perfect powder. I don't have a lot of this product left. I don't know if you can tell, but there's only a little bit. So when I run out of this, instead of repurchasing it, I'm really going to focus on the Fenty powder because I do like that one as well. This one just leaves my skin super matte and super smooth looking. This is the Bite Beauty Changemaker Flexible Coverage Pressed Powder in the shade Light 1. I do like this powder. I think it makes your skin look very smooth, very even. It's not too heavy and it's also not too powdery, so it just looks very natural on the skin. I think whether you have dry skin or oily skin, you would like this. This one is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Diffused Light. This is one of my favorites. I always use this one under my eyes after I do my concealer just to brighten things up. I will also take this and kind of blend it over my whole face after I do bronzer and blush because it really diffuses any harsh lines and it makes everything look very even. And the last powder that I have is the Urban Decay Velvetizer Translucent Mix-In Medium. I use this to set my under eye concealer. And thank you to those of you that told me this was actually available on HauteLook because I did get 2 of them for a discounted price. So I am glad that I got my hands on 2 backups. I really try not to buy backups, but this is a product that I have used over and over for years, and I just feel like they're discontinuing it because it's really not available in a lot of places. So I was glad that I was able to get my hands on those because while I look for a replacement, I still have my go-to product. So these are the cheek products that I have in my everyday makeup drawer for spring. I definitely wanted to downsize my cheek product selection. I used to have so many different options, but because of that, I felt like I wasn't able to really focus on certain products. And by the end of the month or the end of the season, there were still products that didn't get used. So I did downsize. I have 2 bronzers that I'm going to be focusing on. Well, 2 bronzers and a bronzer palette. The first one is the Balms Take Home the Bronze. I have the shade Oliver. This is my go-to bronzer. I kind of use this one as like a bronzer contour all-in-one. It's just so blendable and smooth and easy to work with. The palette that I've been using is the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. The formula on this palette or in this palette is so good. These are incredibly smooth, blendable, easy to work with bronzers. And I know that a palette might not be ideal for everyone. Obviously, all 4 of these shades probably won't work for one person, but I actually mix the top 2 shades together. And then I think it will be nice to have this shade in the summertime because I can mix it in with the other 2 if I need a darker bronzer. I did include one more bronzer. This one is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. It's getting a little bit older. It's definitely not expired yet, but I'm sure it will expire maybe within the next year. So I just want to focus on using this one quite a bit. And again, it's just a very smooth, blendable bronzer. That's kind of my go-to when it comes to bronzers. So I love all 3 of these formulas. Let me talk about highlighter next because I only have 3 highlighters in my drawer right now, and they're all from Becca Cosmetics. So the first one is in the shade Opal, which is one of my go-to shades. I like using this when I have a cooler toned look going on, just because the shade is a little bit cooler, especially compared to Champagne Pop, but it is one of my favorites. My absolute favorite highlighter is Champagne Pop. I'm trying to hit pan on this by the end of the year, and I think I'll be able to do it, but it's one of my go-to shades, especially during the spring and summer when I'm doing a lot of warmer looks. And then this one is the Becca highlighter in the shade Rose Quartz. It's just a little bit more of a pink toned highlighter. Typically when I wear pink highlighters, I have one from Smashbox that I reach for over this one, so I do want to focus on using this one heading into spring. So as for blush, I do have 2 of my Hourglass Ambient Lighting blushes. This one is the Ambient Lighting Strobe Blush in the shade Brilliant Nude. This one has a little bit of shimmer in it. It just looks really pretty on the skin when I want like a nice natural blush. Like some days you want to wear blush, but you don't want it to take away from the rest of your look. That's when I reach for this one. I also have the Ambient Lighting blush in the shade Dim Infusion when I'm going for like a really coral toned look, but again, I want more of a natural look to my blush. This is a great option. The Hourglass blushes are so hard to explain because they look very natural on the skin, and I feel like that is a weird concept because a lot of blushes are so rich and pigmented, but the reason why I love these is because they are a little bit more natural, so it kind of looks like it just looks like your cheeks are flush in a natural way rather than, you applied a ton of blush. That being said, Hourglass is expensive and there are a lot of affordable options that are great as well. This one is the Milani Baked Powder Blush in the shade Luminoso. This one looks great as well. It has like that peachy coral tone to it. I love this baked formula because it has a natural sheen that doesn't look glittery or shimmery. It just looks very healthy. And then I have two of the Flower Beauty Flower Pots blushes. This one is in Warm Hibiscus. So again, if you like a good shimmery, peachy coral for spring and summer, this one is nice. And then I also like the shade Sweet Pea on days where I'm going for something just a little bit more natural. I forgot, I did put the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter Palette in my drawer as well. So in addition to the Becca highlighters, I will be focusing on this one. When I swatched this palette, I did not think I was going to like it on the face. It feels a little bit more dry, but on the skin, it looks very natural. It's not a blinding highlight. It's not very intense. It's a lot more natural looking, which I've come to appreciate. And then I do have two blush palettes. So I have the BH Cosmetics Vanilla Cream Truffle Palette, which comes with 4 really pretty blushes. These are matte blushes, but they look great on the skin. They're very blendable and smooth and just easy to work with. So in addition to the other blushes, I will be using this one quite a bit. And then, of course, I had to break out my Natasha Denona Bloom Blush and Glow palette. I got this last year around this time, and I just fell in love with it. I used it so much more than I ever thought I would. It comes with 2 cream cheek products and then 2 powder products, and it's just fun to work with. I love using the cream products with like a damp beauty sponge, and then of course I wear this highlighter, and this is just the prettiest glowy blush. So this will get used quite a bit, I'm sure. And then, okay, I'm all over the place. I have 2 more blushes. I didn't realize I put these in my drawer too. These are from the new ColourPop Making Mauves collection. Or wait, how do people say mauve? They say mauve, Making Mauves collection. I can't get on board with it. I think that's actually the proper way to say it, but I still say mauve. So this one is in the shade Coast to Coast. It's a little bit deeper. I think that I've worn this one, but I haven't worn this one. This one is in the shade Catch My Vibe. This one's obviously a little bit brighter. I haven't really tried a lot of the ColourPop pressed powder blushes, so I am looking forward to using these and seeing how they compare to some of my other favorite formulas. Okay, we'll finish up with eye products and lip products. So let me pull out the brow products first. I have my Urban Decay Brow Blade. I wear the shade Dark Drapes. This comes with a brow pencil and then also an ink stain side. So the brow pencil, I've actually almost used that up, but the ink stain side is like a felt tip liner, and it just gives you the most perfect hair-like stroke. So it makes your brows look like they're microbladed without, of course, all the pain. I also have the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the shade Dark Brown. I need to add in one of the brow pencils for my project pan, but I have misplaced those at the moment. So as soon as I find those, I will add one of those in my drawer as well. I think that I still have the e.l.f. pencil that I need to work through, but in the meantime, those are 2 of my favorite brow pencils. As far as brow gels go, I've been using the Hourglass Arch Brow Volumizing Fiber Gel in the shade Dark Brunette. I have the ColourPop Brow Boss Gel in the shade Dark Brown, and then I just got the Urban Decay Inked Brow. This is an interesting product, so this is in the shade Dark Drapes as well. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to work. It's kind of like this liquefied brow gel that you comb through your brows. So I think I'm going to test it out on camera for the first time and we can see how it actually works. So for liquid liner, I have the Urban Decay Perversion, which is my favorite when I want a super dark, dramatic wing that will stay in place all day long. It is a brush tip liner. I also have the CoverGirl liquid liner in the shade Numero Uno, which is their black one. And then the last one I have is the e.l.f. liquid liner. This is their waterproof eyeliner pen. I haven't really put this one to the test. I've had it in my drawer, but I just haven't reached for it very much. So I do want to really test this one out during the next few months. So with all of the craziness going on, obviously eyelash extensions are not a priority for me. Mine are all going to fall off within the next few weeks, probably like the next week or 2. So I am going back to my natural lashes. I've been telling you guys that I need to take a break, and now obviously I have to take a break, which is totally fine. So I do have my CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara. I might add in another one. Actually, let me go grab another one. This one is unopened. It is the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. I just feel like I am going to need the volume because after my eyelash extensions come off, my natural lashes are going to feel so thin compared to having eyelash extensions on. So we'll see how they look. I'll show you guys on camera, but I am looking forward to using regular mascara again because I do miss it. I have 2 eye primers, my Urban Decay Primer Potion, and then also the Profusion No Budge. I'm trying to finish up this Urban Decay Primer Potion. This is like never ending. Every single time I open a new one up, I know that it's going to last at least a year, but I do feel like I'm kind of getting there. So I do have this one as well. I have a couple of little eyeshadows. So I have the Wet n Wild eyeshadow in the shade Brulee. I use this to set my eyeshadow primer into place if the palette that I'm using doesn't have a color like this. And then I do have two of the e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadow palettes, which I've been loving so much. These perform so well. I've raved about them on my channel, but these are definitely some of my favorites. And then I did add in two of the ColourPop Super Shock shadows. This shade is Day Trippin'. It was part of the Making Mauves collection, or Making Mauves collection, but it's a really pretty like light purple with like a blue iridescence to it. And then this shade is Bloomer, which is a little bit deeper. I love the Super Shock shadows. They are definitely some of my favorites. I kind of want to do like a Super Shock shadow challenge month where I just use those, although that wouldn't really work because I don't really like the matte shadows. I just like the shimmer shadows all over the lid. So maybe I'll do a month where I focus on the ColourPop Super Shock shadows and my single ColourPop pressed powder shadows. That could actually be fun because I've been wanting to get a lot more use out of those as well. Okay, let's finish off with lip products. So I have a couple of glosses. I found these Dominique Cosmetics lip glosses in my collection, and I don't think that I've worn them a lot. These are the Lemonade lip glosses. This lighter one, or like this more nude one, is in Peach Tea, and then this one is in Strawberry Lemonade. So I am looking forward to wearing these quite a bit over the next few months. I also have the Kaleidos Lucid Lip in the shade Mesmerize. This formula is really nice. It's a very soft formula. It just looks really healthy on the lips. I wouldn't say that it's completely sheer. It definitely has like a hint of color to it, but it just looks really juicy and gorgeous, and it's not sticky at all. And then I have two of these CoverGirl tinted lip oils. The purple one is Sour Grapes and the pink one is Fresh Squeezed. These are really nice. I didn't know that I would like these as much as I do. I haven't tried out a lot of tinted lip oils, but these look very juicy, very healthy on the lips. This is the e.l.f. Sheer Slick Lipstick in the shade Cherry Slush. It's a pretty sheer lip color, but it just adds a really fun pop of color to the lips that is perfect for the spring season. And then I have a bunch of my ColourPop Just a Tint lip colors. So I have the Strand, Maui Wowie, Always Right, and Feel Good. I love these all year round. I think these are so much fun. I know that I talk about them a lot on my channel, but they look so healthy on the lips. They add a hint of color without being too intense, and they're really moisturizing, so low maintenance. I just love them. So I chose a couple of fun pink colors for the spring season, and then a little bit more of like a brighter red shade. I have a couple of these new Bite Beauty Power Move Creamy Matte Lip Crayons. I did wear one the other day in a video. It was like my Ulta 21 Days of Beauty video. I feel like these are the perfect matte lip color because they stay in place incredibly well. They're not transfer proof, but they do stay in place. I wore mine the entire day that day, and while it does feel like a matte lipstick, it dries down a little bit, but it's not as intense as a matte liquid lipstick. I have two of these little Bite Beauty lipsticks. I got these as part of a holiday set. I think it has been discontinued, but I'm really looking forward to them actually redoing their entire Amuse Bouche line. They said they are redoing it to make it vegan. I'm sure at this point it's probably going to be delayed, but I just love their lipsticks, so I just like these shades. I think they're really fun for everyday wear. I have my Too Faced Natural Nudes lipstick in the shade Scent Nudes, which is one of my go-to lipsticks. And then I also have these. These are the Christian Audette Mel Thompson lipsticks. Beauty is one of my favorite shades of all time. I wear it all the time. It's like a gorgeous pinky nude. And then Puffin is such a fun, like bright orangey red. I can't wait to wear this one a little bit more during the spring. And then finishing up, I do have two of the ColourPop Luxe glosses. I haven't tried these yet, but they did send me these when they sent me the rest of that collection. So I've heard mixed reviews on these. Some people say they're a little bit sticky, and then I've also heard people say they really like them. I feel like I could have swatched more in this video. I apologize about that. I just wasn't really thinking about it, to be honest with you guys. These feel a little bit different than I thought they would. They're not like creamy glosses. They're definitely a little bit more sheer. I don't know. They don't feel sticky though. So I have to test them out on the lips, and I will keep you guys posted and let you know if I like them or not. I almost forgot about my setting sprays, so I have the Ofra Makeup Fixer. You get a ton of product in here for the price. You guys have recommended this to me so many times. I also have the Milani Make It Last setting spray. So I did a declutter, and I told you guys that I'm not like a big setting spray fan, but I wanted to put these two to the test because I've gotten so many recommendations to try them. So that is the end of my video. That is everything inside my everyday makeup drawer for spring. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope maybe it inspired you to shop your stash if you are looking to switch things up. And I really hope that you guys are doing well during this crazy time. I will definitely be here with new videos to keep you guys distracted and keep you company if you are at home. But I hope you guys stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye.